Hey guys, this is Nick from ForexNoobs.com with some daily analysis. Today is Tuesday the 9th of February 2016 and it is 18:05 here in the UK. You're looking at a GBPJPY daily chart. In this analysis I'm going to be going through each pair on my list here. These are my main trading pairs, but I also do trade other pairs and I'll be going through each time frame for these pairs. So those are the time frames up there. Now, one thing to note, and I say this at the start of every one of these analysis videos, but in case you're new and you don't know, I'm going to say it again. I don't trade every single one of these time frames here. So the 5 hour, for example, the 7, the 9, the 10, and the 11, those time frames I don't actually trade. They are just there because they give me a different view of price action. When I look at a 10-hour candle, it's splitting that candle up into a different time frame. So it gives me a different view of price action and it allows me to better read what price is doing in that area. So it just gives me a better understanding of what price is doing. That's why I use those time frames. I don't actually trade them. The only ones I actually trade are the 3 hour, the 4 hour, the 6 hour, the 8 hour, the 12 hour, and the daily. One more thing before we get started, I'm going to be doing a webinar three webinars over the course of 3 days, starting Tuesday the 1st of March, all the way through to Thursday the 3rd of March. That's going to be 3 webinars over 3 days. And in these webinars, I'm going to be going over my price action techniques, my advanced price action techniques. That way you can trade the way I do and you could better put this analysis to use. I do these 3 webinars every year. And you can check out last year's ones, but these ones coming up are going to be better than all the previous years. There's going to be more detail and they're going to be more up to date for 2016. I have put a link below the YouTube video and also below the blog post, the video on the blog, if you're watching this from the blog, where you can sign up for that webinar. So hopefully I can see you at that webinar. And if you're not there live, there will be a recording posted to YouTube, but it's a lot better to be there live because then you can ask me all the questions you have. Anyway, let's get started with today's analysis. Like I said, you're looking at a GBPJPY daily chart. We're just going to drop down the timeframes and see if we can see any potential setups on GBPJPY. Keep in mind that it is Tuesday. I don't really get many trades forming on Tuesday generally. I don't get many trades forming on Tuesday. I don't know what happened to my support resistance areas here. I don't think that one's a proper support resistance area. So yeah, I don't get many trades forming on Tuesday, so we're probably not going to see anything today, but we might do, so let's go for it. So on the daily, what are we seeing so far? Just GBPJPY is pushing into an area of support. We might see some indecision forming here actually on the lower time frames. Ooh, there you go, 12 hour, we got some indecision. Not really sure if that's tradable. Let's look at a few lower time frames, see what it looks like down there. Nah, nothing really on the 8 hour worth looking at. Nothing on the 4 hour, nothing on the 3 hour. All right, on the 12 hour, this does have potential to be a trade setup, but that lower wick is a bit low. Let's see what this would look like if we were to take a trade. Yeah, we're looking at a 1-to-1 risk to reward ratio at the next resistance area. But I'm not too sure about these resistance areas, to be honest. I think they just look a little close together because GBPJPY has been moving very fast recently. So because of how fast it's been moving, they're looking a little tightly packed at the moment. Which means I might be willing to shift these areas around a little bit. Let's see how far apart they actually are. 354 pips, so it's a significant distance apart. I'm not too sure about this. I'm going to keep a close eye on this one, on GBPJPY. And I'm going to decide based on the next candle, the next 12-hour candle, what I'm going to do. The next candle is going to open in about 4 hours. So 3 hours, 48 minutes, 55 seconds is when the next candle opens. By the time you're watching this, it's probably going to be a fair bit shorter than that. So keep a close eye on this. Depending on how it closes, it might end up being a potential trade, but I'm not too sure. The other thing to note is on the lower time frame. So if you look at the 8-hour, it looks a little different, right? It looks like sellers have broken below the support area. They've come back up to the support area and that they might bounce away now. So I'm not really that sure about this trade. It looks good on the 12-hour, but just because it looks good on the 12-hour doesn't mean it's a good setup. That's why I have different time frames, because when you look at price action on one single time frame, you're limiting your analysis. You're not seeing everything that you should be seeing. That's why switching around time frames is helpful, because when you look at this on the 12-hour, it looks like pretty good reversal setup. But then when you drop down to the 8-hour, it tells kind of a different story. It looks like price has pushed below. Now it's trying to get back through, but it's not quite managing it. So we're not really sure what to think with this one. I am going to keep a close eye on it. Watch for how it closes on the 12-hour and make my decision based on that. Also keep in mind that last time it did this, it did come through eventually. So it's worth keeping a close eye on. I'm gonna watch this one. But the risk to reward ratio doesn't seem that great. I don't really see this turning into a viable trade, but it's definitely worth watching. It could possibly maybe turn into a viable trade. We just have to wait and see. Now let's check out some GBPUSD. What's GBPUSD doing? Starting up at the daily, it's bouncing off an area of support right now, but there's no potential trade here. Nah, nothing much going on there. EURUSD. Ooh. What's EURUSD doing? It's heading into an area of resistance. And it's a pretty decent area of resistance, really. Now, this area of resistance is a little bit... some people are going to disagree with me on this area of resistance. Why do I have my area of resistance here? Shouldn't it be up here because of those bounces? And the answer is, yeah, it could be up there. It might be up there. But we also need to consider that there are several bounces from the one I've placed. When price came back down through here, see how it stalled for a bit before continuing down? So there's also evidence for my one. Even here there's a bounce. And I would argue that there's more bounces from here and more signs of support resistance here than there is up there. These are more extreme, which is also important, and it's also a factor to consider. So in reality, the support resistance area could just extend all the way through here. So it could just be like a very, very large area of support resistance. That kind of thing, if you get what I mean. It could just be two areas of support resistance. We're not really sure. And it's going to be tough to make a decision on where the support resistance area is. But does that matter? That's the question. And that's the question I always ask my students. Does that matter? Does it matter if the support resistance area is up here or down there? And my answer is no. For me personally, it doesn't matter, because what matters here is what's going to happen when price reaches this area. If price reaches this area and we get strong signs of indecision, we get signs that buyers have just stalled and sellers are coming in and they're making it clear that they want to sell, they want to do what's in their nature to do, they want to sell and they want to go short, then that is confirmation that this is in fact the correct resistance area. That is the confirmation that I would need to enter a trade. If price just pushes straight through this area and then goes on to bounce from up here, then I would say, okay, well, we can safely ignore this area and I could take the short here. So does it really matter? No. Maybe the support resistance area is here, maybe it's up there. Doesn't really matter. All that matters is what happens now, what price is going to do now when it reaches that area. I've been going on for a while now and we've only looked at two pairs, so let's get through this analysis. Okay, we're already on the 9-hour. Now, remember, 9-hour is not a time frame I trade, but it's just something I look at. We're already seeing signs of indecision. On the 8-hour, yeah, we're seeing signs of indecision. 6-hour looks pretty decent. That could actually potentially be a trade right there. So I'm going to keep a close eye on this one. This one looks a million times better than GBPJPY. I'm going to move it to the top of my list. going to keep a close eye on this. This candle closes in 3 hours, 43 minutes. By the time you watch this video, that's going to be probably 3 hours, or maybe less if you don't get the email right away. So I would keep, yeah, I'm going to keep a close eye on this one. Euro USD, there's huge potential for a short trade here. 3 hour looks good too. 3 hour, 6 hour. And yeah, the daily and 12 hour, it's approaching, but it's obviously not formed in decision yet. So let's keep a close eye on this one. It would be somewhat of a counter trend trade, but counter trend is not always bad. I like to trade with the trend when I can, but counter trend is fine also. Okay. USDJPY approaching an area of support, but bouncing away already. There's not much potential from what it looks like to take a trade here, unless price keeps moving down towards this support area. If price moves down towards the support area, then sure, I might take a trade. But right now, nothing really happening on USDJPY. Let's check out New Zealand USD. Yeah, it's like right in between two support resistance areas, so there's not going to be anything here. But let's go through it anyway, because it's important that you're in the habit of going through each and every time frame, even if you know you're not going to find anything. Yeah, nothing. USD CAD. It's already bouncing away from a resistance area, so we're not going to get a trade here. Any trade that would be here has already triggered. And people who took it are already in profit. All right, so USD CAD, nothing. USD CHF. That's going straight down. Yeah, but it's in between two support resistance areas, so there's nothing much that we're going to find here. Yeah, nothing worth trading. AUD USD. It's on a support area, but it's been a bit too volatile, so I don't really see potential to take a trade here. Because I trade based on price action, I would have to place my stop based on price action, and that stop is just going to be way too low. If there was even a setup here, which there kind of isn't. EURUSD. Approaching an area of resistance. I don't know. I guess it's worth keeping an eye on. It's approaching an area of resistance, but it doesn't look that great. But it's worth keeping an eye on. So what we're looking at right now is... Wait, let me explain why it's worth keeping an eye on. Basically, we have buyers heading into an area of resistance. If indecision forms here, which it looks like it might do, it looks like it's already forming, there might be potential for a short trade. It doesn't look that great, but you know, it's worth keeping an eye on. If you don't understand how I trade, by the way, there is a link to my strategy on the blog post below this video. If you're watching this on YouTube, head over to the blog post and you know, learn a little bit about how I trade. It's all free, my strategy. Again, please do sign up for the webinar. The webinar is going to be happening on Tuesday, the 1st of March, through to Thursday, the 3rd of March. It's going to be, I don't know, pretty awesome webinar, I hope, or pretty awesome series of webinars, I hope. So I hope to see you there. I hope you enjoyed the analysis. I hope you learned something useful. And remember to keep an eye on EURUSD, EURUJPY, and GBPJPY. I'll see you for tomorrow's analysis.